Hello and welcome to the New England B2B's Three Questions with. I'm my buddy Tom. We're here with some Get College Going. Hey, Tom, welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thanks for having me around, Kevin.
So, Tom, the question I'm asking everyone is, how is everything going on impacting your business? How is what's going on impacting students and parents' decisions to pursue college?
Well, I think it's a little bit of the old has come back a little bit. The old is new again, in the sense that the pandemic has changed the way colleges are interacting with families and students. There's no college fairs. There's no high school visits. Students are still potentially getting things in the mail, but they're not necessarily having those conversations. So it's changing in the sense that parents and students need to be a lot more proactive, a lot more of an advocate for themselves to reach out to schools and start the conversation. Admissions counselors are there waiting. They're working at home, they're working at school, and they're interested in texting, they're interested in emails, they're interested in phone calls. So the past has been schools coming to families and getting the engagement going. Families and students need to reverse that right now and get themselves ahead of, almost turn into a marketeer. When I work with students, I'm trying to help them learn how to, communicate with schools. So it's changing the approach.
So, Tom, one of the things, the expression we hear all the time is schools are looking for the best students. And I just kind of go, what does that mean? How do you define the best? What does it mean?
Well, it's really, as we've talked about before, it's really the opposite of what we think when we hear the best student. In the last couple of decades, there was a lot of emphasis on creating a student who was so-called well-balanced, had academics, had achievements, had, personal things, had volunteerism. And that's still true today because we want students to become the best that they can be. But what schools are really looking for is students that meet their needs, their demographics, their gender breakdown, their majors. If one program's oversubscribed and not enough for another program, another major, they're looking for students that are going to fit those needs. They're looking for students who are going to stay there for 4 years, complete and graduate on time. And they're looking for families that can pay the portion that they need to pay to finance school. So we want our students to become the best that they can be so they can find the school that will get them the education and the personal and financial growth. But the mindset is not creating Wonder Woman or Captain America. It's finding out what colleges need and trying to see if my son or daughter fits that demand, and then have that conversation to say, hey, I am your student. Let's have a conversation so you can learn more about me and how my interest in a particular major or my opinion about the life of the world can help your school and the students that I'm going to go to school with.
So, Tom, this is just such challenging times. I've had conversations with parents who wanted their child to go away to college. And then with everything going on, they're like, just not comfortable with my student, going out of state, or, I'm not comfortable with my student, learning from their bedroom. How do you advise students right now with just so much uncertainty of what they should do?
Well, for seniors or for students who should be in school now, the decision's been made. For high school seniors and juniors, I have to take somewhat of a crystal ball look into the fact that I think that in the next 6 to 8 months, the next year, we'll have a switch from an overabundance of pandemic and worry to a different style of our own life. Masks will probably be permanent for the next year and a half. So I'm advising students to stay on their plan, to stay on their course, but to also step back and realize that if I'm not ready for college, I shouldn't be going to college. If I'm not ready for a 4-year college, I should be thinking about a 2-year college with then a bump after my junior year to a 4-year school. I think that the the challenge of the pandemic has caused a lot of people to push back and maybe make some quick judgments. But I think long-term, students need to look at what's my right path? What's my path for me, not for everybody else in my class? And then the other really, really important part that I'm talking a lot about now is the whole financial side of it. Am I really prepared to go to the school and pay for the school that I think I want to go to? You know, a lot of students can get into colleges and a lot of colleges will take them, but they may not be able to afford it for a year or for 4 years. So getting pre-qualified, I think, is another major thing that's coming through as a result of the pandemic. So it's slowing people down a little bit. They're taking a second analysis of what they want to do for the next 4 or 5 years. But I think that if you really are motivated to go to college, you still work on finding your school, find the way to pay for it, and move forward. But if you're not, take advantage of some of the things that are going on. You know, in Gloucester, we have a great program, a biotech academy, where students can go for a year, work as well as learn at the same time, and then go off to a 4-year school, or go to community college and then move to a 4-year program. So there's a lot of options, and maybe the pandemic is helping folks step back and stressfully go through those conversations.
So Tom, how can people reach out to you? How can they learn more?
They can give me a call at 617-240-7350. They can shoot me an email at tom@getcollegegoing.com. Check out my LinkedIn or Facebook pages. Follow some of the things I'm writing about and talking about. Check with yourself.
Great.
You know?
Tom, I really appreciate you taking a few minutes to jump in the show. And as always, thanks for being my friend.
All right. Be good, Kevin.
You too.